Got Josh from Silverstein on the line. The band are returning to Australia for the 10th anniversary of Discovering the Waterfront, as well as releasing their new album, I Am Alive in Everything I Touch. So, Josh, how's it going?
It's going amazing. We just wrapped up doing the Discovering the Waterfront 10th anniversary in North America. Went right around the USA and Canada, and the shows were incredible. Some of the best headline shows we have done in our entire career, which is a pretty amazing thing to be able to say this far into it, you know?
Sure. So, yeah, it's been 10 years. What has it been like revisiting some of these songs?
It's been crazy. There's a bunch that we have not played in quite a while, and going backwards and having to relearn some of them and just looking at maybe the songwriting techniques or the even just musicianship that we used to possess. It's kind of gratifying. It makes you feel good about how far we've come. You know, it's a nice trip down memory lane.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite records from that time period.
Awesome.
Yeah, so do you remember much from the recording process way back then?
I do remember it pretty well. It was pretty crazy for us because up until then, we had one record that we had put out that did pretty well, but we had just recorded it back in like the suburbs of Toronto. So it was near home, in like a basement studio, so it didn't feel as real. But when we went to do our sophomore release, we had a bigger budget, so we went down to California and recorded parts of it in the Capitol Records building at the Capitol Studios there, and then the rest of it in a very legit studio in Southern California. So it felt very real being away from home and being in California of all places, working on records in some of the most historic recording studios in the world. It felt wild.
It must have been pretty wild to see the response that record has been given in this past 10 years.
Absolutely. We had no idea what the response was going to be like. Like I said, we did pretty well with the first record, When Broken Was Easily Fixed. And we're hoping to at least achieve the same sort of success. But the heights that Discovering the Waterfront reached and took us along with it, too, were just incredible.
Yep. So yeah, you're bringing down the Discovering the Waterfront 10th anniversary show to Australia. What are you most excited about the tour?
Oh, it's just going to be incredible to be back in Australia.
So on top of returning to Australia on the back of the 10th anniversary of Discovering the Waterfront, Silverstein will also be releasing their 8th album, I Am Alive in Everything I Touch. On the line, I've got Paul from the band to tell us a little bit about that as well.
I Am Alive in Everything I Touch is another concept album for you guys. What's the concept behind the record?
Yeah, I mean, basically the concept of the record is kind of about a journey and about kind of starting in one place and ending in that exact same place, and time has gone by, but nothing much has changed. It's kind of a reflective story on some stuff that's kind of happened, more so to our vocalist, Shane, who kind of wrote the lyrics, obviously, and everything. But yeah, it's just something that has kind of all those elements in the album. And each song is about a different city, so there's kind of that kind of regionality as well.
Would you say that that's something you might actually be able to relate to, having been on tour all these years?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're not. It's not focused around being a tour record, but what it is focused around is about different places and different times in our lives that have kind of been part of the journey, whether it be the journey of life or the journey of somebody going through stages of some part of their life. But because we have had the fortunate ability to tour, it's taken us to a lot of places, and sometimes places remind us of certain emotions or certain things that have kind of happened. So that's kind of a really big part of it. And we've been in the same city maybe a dozen times and felt completely different every time we've been there. But also sometimes you start a journey and you've done a lot and you accomplished a lot, but nothing much has changed for yourself.
What's the track on the record you're most excited for people to hear?
Well, I was most excited for people to hear Milestone, track 7, but we just released that a couple weeks ago. But there's a lot of good diversity of sounds and everything on the record. So there's a lot I'm excited for people to hear. There's also a track called Late on 6, which I think is really great. It's one of our more ambitious tracks that we've tackled.
And we are looking forward to hearing that track, as well as the entire I Am Alive in Everything I Touch record when it hits stores on May the 15th. When Silverstein are in the country for the 10th anniversary of Discovering the Waterfront, they'll be touring alongside Dream on Dreamer and Young Lions, playing in Melbourne on Friday the 8th of May at 170 Russell with local support from Harbours.